Welcome to the greatest test of driving skill on the planet. After a 2-year absence, Formula One's grandest occasion returns to inspire the drivers in a way nowhere else can. And we have seen that 24 hours is a long time in Formula One. After the joy of a home pole, Charles Leclerc's late Q3 crash has cost him dearly. The left drive shaft failing on the lap to the grid, and he, at a race where he's never finished, will not even start. Heartbreak for the Monegasque driver, who was dreaming of a first home victory around here since 1931, and now a totally different race. Lining up in P2, but the furthest forward on the grid, Max Verstappen ahead of Valtteri Bottas. David, I hate to bring it up, but you've been in this position before. 2001, started from pole and saw your chances of victory disappear.
Well, yeah, it was a heart-sinking moment, and the car switched off on the ahead of the formation lap. But unlike Charles, I was able to have an opportunity to make the restart, but unfortunately at the very back of the grid. Thankfully those days cars weren't as reliable, so I managed to make my way up to 5th place and pick up some points. Charles is going to watch the Grand Prix, and he's going to be the least happy of any of the spectators here this afternoon.
And it's great that we do have spectators back here this afternoon. You can see the Drivers' Championship standings on the left-hand side. Hamilton on 94, Max Verstappen on 80, and this could be a pivotal day in the championship because there's an opportunity here for Verstappen to take advantage of Lewis Hamilton's worst qualifying session since Germany in 2018. If you take away car trouble, Hamilton's worst since Brazil in 2017, and these are the drivers that Max Verstappen is aiming to join today. I've got a couple of Monaco Grand Prix winners alongside me as well. This is the one that they value above all others, Mark.
Yeah, this is a big one. Like, what's happened here? We've got an Alfa Romeo struggling at Rascasse.
We have indeed. That was Kimi Raikkonen, and that could lead to an aborted start here because we did not see whether the Alfa was able to make the grid.
No, and this is not good. He's moving again, but what that does mean is, of course, the pole sitter now, or second place, but effective pole, is sitting longer on the grid. You're losing tire temperature, you're losing brake temperature, you're gaining engine temperature. All the temperatures are going against you.
Fascinating stuff and a long time to wait. Whatever the issue was for Kimi Raikkonen, he very much was under threat there. And look at Max Verstappen, already parked at an angle to try and close off Valtteri Bottas.
And it's right down the camera lens. I'm intimidated. I don't know how Bottas feels.
Verstappen on the right, Bottas on the left. The Monaco Grand Prix begins now. Lights out for the contest around the streets of Monaco, and Max Verstappen gets ahead of Valtteri Bottas. He maintains position. The top three does as they move away from the grid and they move through Sainte-Devote. It is Max Verstappen getting the start that he needed on the shortest run of the year. Bottas in P2, then Sainz in P3. Norris maintained position as well, and they've all been fairly well behaved apart from a Williams that went off at turn 1.
Yeah, it had a little detour there, but that was a little bit of a tardy initial getaway for Max. That was a heart-stopping moment for him. But Valtteri just didn't have the runners. Look at this at the back. We've got an Aston sliding down the inside of an Alpine, but he's going to maintain the position into Portier. There was some contact there.
So that was Stroll trying to get past Esteban Ocon and not able to make the move for the final points position in 10th. Valtteri Bottas did get a better reaction, but Max Verstappen saw that one coming. He'd parked his car, he'd got his tactics right, and he's got the thing that they all value, the lead around the 2 miles of Monaco.
It's a beautiful thing, Mark, isn't it, to have clear track ahead of you. It's so difficult to get your eye in at the start of a Grand Prix because they've now got heavy fuel. Changes the feeling of the car on the brakes. It becomes lazier. It touches the ground.
That's
probably
right, mate.
A few other things that I can't even remember.
The last time they were in the car was flat out in qualifying, so this is a huge recalibration for the drivers to get used to the slightly colder track temperatures, the full fuel, as you say, race engine mode. So there's a lot going on here, but he'll be stoked, mate, that he's out front, clean air, beautiful view of the track. Bottas, I just say, nearly got the start, had a little lock up behind him, and he had to discretion the better part of Valor there.
No improvement for Lewis Hamilton, so he was behind Gasly on the grid. They've all shuffled up one because of the luckless Charles Leclerc, who does not even take the start here. And you're shrugging at me because are you going to argue that it was his fault at the end of qualifying?
Well, you've got to own it, and he didn't, the car didn't drive itself into the barrier. I'm a big fan of Charles Leclerc, and I would have loved the dream for him to be able to convert a victory here, but that car got damaged when he was driving it. It reminds me of a journalist once saying to me in my early career, he said, "You have an amazing ability to talk about incidents as if you weren't driving at the time."
Oh, and you were kind to the journo by not mentioning their name.
Well, it was the late, great Alan Henry. He was a legend of journalism.
So Bottas staying within 1 second. And Hamilton saying that he was just going to try and be a good teammate to Bottas on the drivers' parade before the 78 laps began. And Mercedes will be encouraged if Bottas can stay in that position. Now, after the flurry of the getaway from the first turn at Saint-Devote, now it settles into a rhythm. Fastest lap of the race belongs to Max Verstappen.
Well, interestingly, and just picking up what Mark, when he's talking around the differences, that's a 1:17.4. That is a full 7.5 seconds slower than what he qualified the car. So, Mark, put that into context. What, 7.5 seconds a lap slower? How much easier is that, or how much more difficult is that?
Well, they're still driving pretty close to the limit, obviously, but they have a huge amount of fuel on board. They've got to pace these sets of tyres for a long period of time. Could be out to even 30 laps on this first set of tyres. I'm not sure exactly how long they will go, but there's an element of pacing on the tyres. The track's had a little bit of a reset, so that's redialing itself back in. So every single lap around here will be slightly quicker than the previous lap because of the conditions and the driver's knowledge. You're constantly learning how to, slice the dice around here with this track.
So lap 3 of 78, all of the drivers in the top 10 are on the soft tyre. The highest placed driver who is on a different tyre is Lance Stroll in 11th on the hard, so he will be going a very long way indeed as we check in with Sergio Perez, who still can't find an answer with the 1 lap pace, so he's much happier in race trim. The problem around here, of course, is qualifying is such a huge part of race trim.
Yeah, just looking at who might have gained during that start, Alonso getting he's getting a sniff of where the points might be. Initial getaway, it looked to me that Bottas was a bit stronger, but then Max just came across and locked him down. We'll never know, of course, what would have happened if Charles had been there, but you've got to imagine, looking at Carlos' start, that the Ferrari would have been reasonable. Little lock-up under rotation for Bottas as he breaks into Saint-Devote, and then we're going to see a little corner cutting at the back of the field.
Yeah, it was pretty cosy at the back of the field there, wasn't it, mate? But here it is, the start on with Valtteri. And I tell you what, that was enough for Max just to move across. That wouldn't have been enough somewhere like Monza or Barcelona, but thankfully we're only in Monaco, so Max is on his way with a short run to Saint-Devote.
And that's a beautiful moment. You come out Saint-Devote, you look up the hill to Casino Square, and there's no one there. Just you and the racetrack.
Driver putting a lot of pressure on is Sergio Perez, who we go on board with at the moment, and he is closing down Sebastian Vettel. Vettel increasingly confident behind the wheel of that Aston.
He is indeed, but if you look down to the point where Vettel's running in 7th, the biggest gap to any of the competitors is between Vettel and Hamilton. So Vettel is acting a little bit like a trolley train right now. Perez is going to have to roll that dice, and it's perfect analogy. And you think we've passed through Casino Square, but roll the dice and decide whether he wants to get his elbows out and show that he can win some big points at Red Bull, or just be conservative and then wait for the stops. The key thing you're looking for is that gap, that window. Right now, if Verstappen had to pit, he'd come out behind Raikkonen in 12th. You need more than 20 seconds under normal race conditions to try and get some clean air.
That comes down if there is a virtual safety car, but it's a short pit lane here. It means that the loss is not as much. Fastest lap again for Max Verstappen, but of course track position is absolutely everything. We look to the back of the pack now, and Mick Schumacher's been able to get past his teammate. Here's how. The two Haas fighting at the back, and Mick Schumacher, after a desperate Saturday, takes advantage, uses a bit of the curb as well, and gets past his teammate to be the lead Haas once again.
Yeah, it was awesome. Reminds my mum when she goes to get the groceries. Up the curb. Nice move.
Sainz. Can he push up? Can he close up to make it a three-car battle for the lead of the race? He was so upset yesterday. He believed that if he sorted his third sector out, he had a chance of pole position. And he said, P4, you don't really have a chance to contend for the win. Disconsolate yesterday, Ferrari's only car on track today and trying to close down that gap. It's 3 seconds to Valtteri Bottas ahead at the moment. But remember, Carlos Sainz, after his heroics in Brazil and also in Monza when he was contending for the win with Pierre Gasly, only 2 podiums in Formula One. This would be his first for Ferrari as well.
Yeah, that would be extraordinary for him, wouldn't it, to get on the steps at this location in the red car. But it has been a little bit of a weakness, in my opinion, of Carlos, is those Q3 laps. He's got to step up and actually nail those. We've seen him have great form in Q1, Q2, but the transition into Q3 when you've really got to step up and deliver. And he can complain to himself as much as he'd like about how he didn't pull a lap when it counted, but that's what you've got to do. That is Q3. Put the tyres on, son, and go for it.
Yeah, there is that. And also, just looking at his times, you know, he's starting to notice that Verstappen's stretching his legs and pulling the gap. He's at just over 4 seconds down. So he needs to try and keep hustling that along. He's not under big pressure from Norris and McLaren, but this is about, you know, assuming a clean race, no safety cars. This is about finding that window to get the tyre stop done. So you don't want to be too conservative early doors. Every time you can gain now is time you can play with later in the race.
Talking of safety cars, only one of the last 10 Monaco Grand Prix have passed without a safety car or virtual safety car. So it would be a rare occurrence, but we've had a cleaner start than we've been used to. And if you're going to try something at the back, the pit window to put on the hard tyre is now open. Pirelli projecting that hard tyre would go 80 laps. We only have 78 when we started.
Yeah, well, coming from behind, you do have the advantage of being a little bit more flexible on your strategy. You can take a risk, or you can sit tight and let the race come to you.
Fastest lap of the race for Lando Norris sums up that he is in the form of his life right now. He's got that new multi-year extension with McLaren, and as you've heard from him already in the broadcast, he is just comfortable with where he is at the driving. He's putting his teammate in the shade right now as well, and few people would have predicted that at the start of the year. Just to tell you about Daniel Ricciardo, he's on the medium tyre, so he's trying something different to his teammate. A reminder that the top 10 are on the soft.
Interesting for Norris, DC. It could be all upside today because, you know, has he really got the pace to challenge Carlos? Who knows? But that gap behind him with Gasly, I think, will only increase as the race goes on. So I think McLaren with Norris, they can really have some nice options. Can they go super long? Can they try something a bit quirky, go a bit shorter, so to try and get on the podium? So he's in good shape, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are indeed, and all eyes are on him because Daniel Ricciardo is down in 13th, and that's going to be very difficult for him to do anything exciting from there.
four-time world champion, previous winner around here, Sebastian Vettel, leading his old team. Big step forward for Vettel, who always has had form around here, always made Q3 since 2008, continued that run yesterday. And Perez once again paying the price for a difficult Saturday session.
Well, you can see it being played out. That same car in the hands of Max is now 20 seconds up the road. And he's just not close enough or quick enough in the right areas to put Vettel under pressure. When you're in a situation like this as well, if you run too close to the car in front, you don't get clean air over your wings, you don't get clean air into your brake ducts, you don't get clean air into your radiators, so you become marginal on your temperatures.
And forced to follow the car in front, just trying to bully them out of the way. At this stage of proceedings, are you just counting down the laps to the pit stops, or are you just looking for any way by?
Yeah, I was just about to mention, Alex, that, you're in the groove now, 14 laps in, everything's feeling comfortable, and sometimes you come around and look at the pit board, don't you, DC, and you go, it's a 78-lap Grand Prix. It is such a long way around here mentally to keep that focus and the concentration. So, yes, mate, you are focusing on the first stop, but you've got to stay present here. If you get too far ahead of yourself and distracted and not being in that zone, if you like, in that flow of driving the car, you can get distracted and start to lose some lap time. So, it's a long old race mentally.
That's a good point. This is one of the circuits where you wouldn't necessarily look at your pit board every lap. Other circuits where you've got a big long straight, then you'll be checking it out from lap one. But look at this, the pit straight isn't straight. It's like a banana. You're constantly turning, and the pit board passes so early. But I remember vividly once getting into the race and checking in to see where we are. I was like on lap 5 or 6. I thought I'd done 30 laps. I was exhausted already.
With another fastest lap of the race to build the gap to 1.7 seconds. Carlos Sainz maintaining that gap. I think that'll be encouraging for Ferrari. Remember, Ferrari haven't been on the podium since 2019. They all got carried away with pole position yesterday, but they haven't been on the rostrum since 2019. So trying to put that right, as we remind you, the average time lost in the pit stops is 20 seconds. Bottas tries to do something about unsettling the rhythm of Max Verstappen, who's led every lap so far.
It shows how much more pace you got.
For these tyres, I'm happy.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, Lando, that's our second strike for turn 10. So we have a black and white flag, no more mistakes.
Lewis Hamilton. They love a super slow-mo around here. Is he checking on the condition of his tyres? Momentarily drifts it on the exit and heads down to the back. Valtteri Bottas reporting on the radio that the front left is starting to drop. And you can see that reflected on the timing tower on the left-hand side now. Gap is 3 seconds. And if Valtteri Bottas is going to earn another Mercedes contract, this is the sort of day where the team need him to take points away from Max Verstappen.
space.
Okay, Lucy, it's all going to start happening pretty soon, I think. Gaps are starting to appear.
Yeah, I'm having quite a good front end in the car, so let's keep that in.
Understood.
You know that there's not that much left in the tyre.
So Bottas basically asking for a pit stop sooner rather than later. Now he can see the Scarlet Ferrari closing in.
Playing into Red Bull's hands. Bottas running out of bullets. He should, well, they would love him to be putting heat on Max at this point right now. Max hasn't got the free stop against Lewis yet. He's not safe to Hamilton, so Max doesn't have it all his way just yet, but Bottas 4.5 back. And it's a beautiful margin for Max to control this right now.
So Max Verstappen in the lead, nearly 5 seconds. Leaders getting past the back markers. It's a long afternoon. If you don't have the pace at the back, just spending your time jumping off to a dirty part of the racetrack. Certainly out of Saint-Devant, up the hill to Beau Rivage, you certainly see there's marbles off the racing line. And every time you have to go to a dirty, dusty part of the racetrack, you're slowing yourself down.
You do not want to go on the marbles unless you're listening to the award-winning podcast that Mark and Steve Jones and I put together ahead of the weekend.
Seamlessly done. Seamlessly done.
When I say award-winning, we haven't actually won any awards, but in my mind's eye, we're champions of it.
Just claim it. No one ever checks. It's fine. 4.9 seconds out front. Lap 27 of 78. The high-pressured moments, certainly for the mechanics in the pit lane, not too far away now. It's all been fairly relaxed for Carlos Sainz. Can he unleash the power? Can he unleash some performance on the in-lap to get himself in line for what would be his joint best result in Formula One if he can jump Valtteri Bottas and get up to second place? Ferrari looking for that first podium of the season, first podium since 2019. Bottas hoping that the next compound he goes on to, very likely the medium tyre, is going to be slightly better for him. He doesn't have any grip with the soft right now.
Yeah, this guy is slow for us. But anyway.
Yeah, just looking at tyres there. Stroll, as we know, is on the hard 16.4 his last time around, compared with Vettel, his teammate, 16.9. So the hard is doing a reasonable job. So let's not write that off as an option, although the medium can more than comfortably make the end of the race.
Another move on the Haas completed by those. We're looking back at the battle between Gasly and Hamilton. Gasly, the one-time race winner, finds himself ahead of the 7-time world champion. These two get on pretty well outside of the car. And Hamilton just not making any impression at the moment, waiting once again, as we all are at this point, in anticipation. And they're on board through the tunnel. Hamilton brakes, but nowhere near close to the back of the AlphaTauri. You heard Carlos Sainz as soon as he got within a second and a half, reporting the dirty air from the car in front, and I don't think any of us expected to hear a Ferrari saying a Mercedes was too slow for them at the start of the weekend, but it's been a bit of a surprise, the Prancing Horse's resurgence around the Principality of Monaco. It's as you were, though, off the line on lap 29, no change there. Just to report, the only real change is Lance Stroll gained a position, and Daniel Ricciardo lost a position. Kimi Räikkönen was able to jump ahead.
Daniel running 4 and a bit seconds behind Räikkönen. It's a pretty miserable afternoon for Daniel and that McLaren.
Just watching Daniel and Fernando Alonso circulating on their own, like you say, mate, 4 or 5 second huge gaps around them, so they're struggling for speed right now. But I think that Ferrari actually just saw a little bit of debris in Carlos Sainz's left rear tyre there, but there is a gap for him now. They can entertain a bit of an undercut here if he's closer. He's worried about, he's going to get 3 or 4 clear laps if he does pit now, put a bit of pressure on, try and go for this second place in this Grand Prix, because at the moment it's all on his terms. So I think it's for Merck to lose this position, and Ferrari can take a little bit of a gamble, because Norris is not really there to put any pressure on. So Ferrari, don't be surprised to see a move, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's all about looking at the gaps, adding the margins, assuming that you get a 2.5 second pit stop is considered sort of average nowadays, but you really want to deliver a 2 second or under 2 second stop, and then you get the driver and give him a good chance of getting back out on track.
As Lewis Hamilton comes into the pits, he goes first to put pressure on Pierre Gasly ahead. Hard tyres, not medium, bolted to the car. The mediums were estimated as being able to make it to the end, so intriguing call. Maybe having a look at what Lance Stroll did in the Aston Martin. Good stop, 2.2 seconds is going to put the pressure on AlphaTauri.
Yeah, they haven't made that blind. They've got the information from the Aston Martin, which is the closest car to the Mercedes. They share a lot of common parts, and although Aston dropped off a bit in performance relative to Mercedes in comparison to last year, but that's a strategic gamble.
Max Verstappen makes his way by, and so the gap, of course, is now opened up for Max Verstappen over Hamilton. Let's see where he would. He's very close to Vettel last time around with the margin that he would need to pit.
Now, Russell was fair on Verstappen on the run down to the back. You're about to see him almost drive off the circuit to let Bottas through. I can assure you, after the coming together they had, well, they would have done had Bottas not headed to the pits.
Second place man comes into the pits, and it's slow at the right front, and this is going to cost him second place, could cost him even more. What a disaster for Valtteri Bottas, who's stationary and losing his place on the podium at Monaco.
Nut stripped, the nut is stripped. They can't get out, they can't get a hold, they can't get some real bite on there. Look, it's just spinning. Okay, let's try another gun. Let's see if we can get this nut talking.
As all this is going on, Lando Norris has come in along with Pierre Gasly, immediately responding to the stop of Lewis Hamilton, but that is a race ruiner. He's still in the pits, and this is going to drop him out of the points.
Yeah, the nut is gone.
They have struggled with temperatures, haven't they? Temperatures with whether it's wheel temp or nut temperatures. they've had a lot of issues at stops this year, so this is the worst one by an absolute mile.
And
it's Hamilton.
This is huge. Hamilton did not get out ahead of Pierre Gasly.
How am I still behind him, man? Come on.
And that is a nightmare minute for Mercedes.
Yeah. He is not happy, but come on, Lewis, if anyone can work some racing magic, you're the man.
He's going to have to do it on track. There's no waiting back now. Verstappen's done the fastest lap as he tries to push for the gap, and that looks like day over for Valtteri Bottas in the most extraordinary of circumstances.
I think what's happened is they've stripped the actual locators off the nut, and then it doesn't matter how many wheel guns you throw at it, you're not spinning the nut, it's just there. You need to cut the thing off with a welding gun.
So pit stops happening right now. In comes Sebastian Vettel. So Sainz is up to second position. Perez promoted to third, but Norris has stopped, and that's going to be Norris promoted to a net podium when this all shakes out. Hamilton with DRS open, and Vettel comes out ahead of them, but Pierre Gasly's going to get by. Can Sebastian Vettel jump the pair of them? Going to be very close up the hill. Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel side by side, but look, Gasly's on the marbles, and that was so close to contact.
Mr. Race Director, show us the action, please. And there's that contact going through the chicane.
So Stroll does it again. He hits the barrier on the inside and gets away with it. Here's our answer. Sebastian Vettel got ahead, and we only had to wait one full replay to see it. Oh, the direction around here can drive you mad, but what a few laps from Sebastian Vettel.
What just happened, guys? I just lost 2 places.
Well, I'm feeling you, Alex. We should state that this is an independent race director for this event only. It's not the normal people we have. And well, that's the first time I've seen the vein stick out in your neck.
Especially with a Frenchie involved, mate, Gasly as well.
Side by side, up the hill, into Massenet. And now Sainz pitting from P2. And that makes it a Red Bull 1-2 on track. Sainz has got traffic ahead. Here's the race leader.
Vibrations are picking up a little, but we just keep going until we are losing too much time.
So Sainz is going to come out, and Sainz is going to be easily ahead of Lando Norris, who is promoted in that fantastically liveried McLaren. But Norris gets himself up when Perez pits to P3, looking at a maiden podium in Monaco, and of course just a third in his Formula One career. Really all going his way at the moment, but what an in-lap and out-lap for Sebastian Vettel. Finally some good news for the four-time world champion.
Yeah, while all that was happening though, that stop for Hamilton, I hadn't picked up that Gasly had slipped in on that same lap, it must have been, or was he a lap early? Was that the reaction? So it was one lap after. Yeah, okay, well spotted. That's the younger eyes of our Australian colleague here.
Yeah. So Hamilton came in to start that chain reaction. AlphaTauri were good enough to respond. Here's a frustrated Lewis.
I don't understand, guys. I saved the tyres to go longer. You made me stop before everyone.
And you can understand his frustration, because we have seen time and time again his skill is extending the tyres around him.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of people, even Perez and Max, they're still getting a bit of life out of these tyres now. If he went off with that in mind, saying I'm going to go along, which you often do when you're out of position here, but the good thing for Lewis and Bono is they've still got another hour to talk about it.
There's that. I think he's still frustrated. 2015 he lost the win here when the team brought him in for a safety stop, and then his teammate Rosberg came through and got the victory. So let's be honest, Lewis is not perfect, but he's as close to perfection as any race driver out there. So when the team make a dodgy call, he does not appreciate it.
Hamilton just having one of those weekends, furious after qualifying. He will be absolutely fuming to see Vettel and Gasly still ahead of him after the only planned pit stop of this Grand Prix. Now into the pits comes your race leader, Max Verstappen, in control at the moment, and he's onto the hard tyres.
Sweet stop, that is one thing. They are consistent, Red Bull, in their performance there. Look at that, 2 seconds flat. As I said earlier, anything under 2, well, that's world record consistency. 2.5 you'll accept, and his teammate, although he runs through, will not cause any problems in this outlap. He knows that he's got a duty here, keep well out of the way.
Lewis were under threat of losing position to Perez as well. Sorry about that.
I've lost position to Perez.
Yeah, he's yet to stop, currently doing 14.6.
not sure how much more of that team radio we're going to be able to broadcast if Sergio Perez gets ahead of Lewis Hamilton. A nightmare day. It's going to have a huge impact in the championship because the new championship leader, if he can make his way to the end, is going to be Max Verstappen. Those positions are costing Lewis Hamilton vital points in the World Championship. Confirmation from Mercedes of what David suspected. The wheel nut machined onto the axle and could not be removed. That's what caused Valtteri Bottas's Monaco Grand Prix to come to a premature conclusion. The first retirement from the race, Charles Leclerc did not take the start. Fastest first sector of the race so far for Carlos Sainz, who's going to have to back up that claim now on the radio that the Mercedes was slowing him down. This was Sebastian Vettel up against Pierre Gasly for P5. They just don't want to show us that move. We'll just, I imagine it was spectacular, Mark.
I'm sure it was. He's a slightly slower pit stop for Sergio Perez there, but he's going to be doing quite well there. He's netted it out pretty well, the net position from having running those softs a lot longer than anyone else, 36 laps. Where's he going to pop back out? Now,
this is crucial. Where is Perez in relation to Hamilton, Vettel, Gasly? This is looking good for Sergio Perez, and he's going to get out ahead of Vettel and Gasly. Perez leaps up to 4th, and Lewis Hamilton is stuck in 7th.
Yeah, this is now playing out as was predicted by the Mercedes strategists. They've got it wrong. Easy to criticise, of course, when you don't have the pressure of making a decision. They rolled the dice and it just hasn't played out for them. What was a pretty lacklustre race is just got a lot worse.
Interesting to see the relief there, wasn't it, from the Red Bull mechanics? They've had disastrous stops here themselves. They've lost races. You know, these mechanics are so invested in this themselves. So when they saw the old Merc pit stop, the disaster for Valtteri Bottas, they would have butterflies in their tummy. So 2 clean stops for Red Bull. Now it's back to the drivers to get on with their job.
Furthest back, we've also got Esteban Ocon yet to come into the pits. Lance Stroll's on the hard tyre, so it's no shock he's yet to box as well. Then Kimi Räikkönen, the last of the point scorers at the moment, ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Antonio Giovinazzi has made that stop, and you would expect him to return to the points later on when everyone else comes in to change onto a different compound, as you have to in the rules. Max Verstappen has a 6.4 second advantage, and we'll see what Carlos Sainz can do. Now he's got a nice, clear racetrack. He was underlining after his disappointment in qualifying how happy he was with his long run pace. He looked good on the soft. How is he on the medium?
Okay, Checo, good job. Currently sitting P4. We've got the jump on Vettel, Gasly and Hamilton.
And that's the best news Perez has heard in some time. He has rescued his weekend, got himself up to 4th. That's the best he's managed with Red Bull so far.
We've had no worries with Sergio generally on Sundays, have we? But he'd be sitting in P2 if he could just find that half a second or 4 tenths in qualifying and just even get him drag even more points out. We've got the pit stop here for Daniel Ricciardo. He's having a tough run this afternoon. He's jammed the hards on.
So Perez is up ahead.
A firm currently Perez P4.
I think there'll be a short debrief, Lewis Hamilton with the team after this race. It will be, okay guys, tell me what I did wrong this afternoon. There'll be silence. And then he said, well, I'll leave you to work out what you got wrong.
This is one of the hardest parts of the Grand Prix mentally. You've made your stop, you're getting into the groove, you've got to take this tyre to the flag, but you realise you've got a huge amount of work still to do. So it's a reset mentally. The track's in a very good position in terms of the grip levels it's offering, but you can just, you know, the mind can start to drift at this point. You've got to recenter again and just break it down. The most important thing at Monaco is the next corner.
Sainz promoted to P2 after Valtteri Bottas' second retirement in the last 4 races. Compare that to the other side of the garage. Lewis Hamilton hasn't retired since Austria 2018. So contrasting fortunes there. Really unlucky way for the Finnish driver to retire from the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix. Sainz has not given up on a maiden victory. It's going to be unlikely, but it's a 3.7 second gap now. He's hammering into that advantage. Here's the moment that eliminated Valtteri Bottas and caused that second retirement in the last 4 races.
You just saw the metal there just churning out as that wheel gun, huge amount of pressure to release the wheel nut, and then Valtteri is disappointed. Well, maybe not as disappointed as Charles Leclerc, but certainly in the same family of disappointment. Walks away from his car early.
The panels are not flashing. They need to flash the panels for the drivers to see a blue flag.
Copy, understood. We are reporting it.
Max Verstappen ticks on to lap 45 of 78, and he finds himself coming under increasing pressure, but I think he's just managing the gap at this point.
Yeah, I think he is doing a bit of management, but it's been a great start to his championship campaign. I know there's a long way in this race to go, but he's been incredibly consistent. And isn't it amazing the ebb and flow of this World Championship? At the last event, it really looked like Mercedes were back to their dominant best, and it was like, well, how can Red Bull respond to that? I know Monaco is a bit of an anomaly in terms of racetracks and performance, but it is an important one for them to take the victory, take the points when they can.
You can see that Kimi Räikkönen maintained track position over Daniel Ricciardo. Really sums up the Australians' weekend so far. Of course, coming out of Spain, it was the first time that he beat Lando Norris. Encouraging signs. Wasn't able to keep Sergio Perez behind, but a big step forward, followed by a big one backwards around the streets of Monaco.
Yeah, sometimes when you're in this position, DC and I have had plenty of experience around here for the good, the bad, the ugly, but as we go on board, the external shot of the two boys just coming through the second chicane here in the swimming pool, but you know, when you are behind a guy for a long period of time, the only thing you could hope is he's got low experience, and he's not that experienced in terms of dealing with this type of Grand Prix. Daniel has got Kimi Räikkönen in front of him. That is the last guy in terms of the level of exposure that Kimi's had to this venue and executing a long Grand Prix around him mentally. So it's a tough day for Daniel. The chances that Kimi will give him a chance will be very low.
Yeah, Kimi is so chilled, isn't he? You know, he famously only looks in his mirrors once a weekend.
He's leading him on track as Sainz, his momentum to Verstappen has been halted. Lando Norris in a solid P3 will be delighted with his weekend's work. Bonus points of fastest lap going the way of Sergio Perez at the moment. First points for Aston Martin, for Sebastian Vettel. Good points for Pierre Gasly. That AlphaTauri's had pace all year long, and he's finally delivering some. And it will be a frustrated Lewis Hamilton making a rather quick exit after the Grand Prix. I'm not sure the interviews post-race are going to be too expansive with what's happened today. Lance Stroll in 8th, and Ocon and Giovinazzi rounding out the point scorers. Here's the two-time winner around here, 2006 and 2007. Fernando Alonso running out of the points as well, and having made his stop in 13th position. We're going on board with the race leader on course for his first Monaco victory, on course to take the points lead.
Looking comfortable. He's, well, as comfortable as it can look going round the streets at these sorts of speeds, just missing metal barriers, but the traffic's being quite compliant.
People might think, how do you look after a car? You know, when you've got a comfortable lead, how do you start to look after the machinery? Well, it's upshift points. There's a very famous jump in the track after Casino Square on the run down to Mirabeau, where you can sort of shallow your line over that one, so you're not sort of the load on the gearbox is less vertical components, so that's an option for Max. And also the chicane, the Nouvelle chicane out of the tunnel there, or the Harbour chicane, the inside curb can be quite hard on the inside of the car, so he might start to manage that inside curb. Not yet, but late in the race he will start to maybe change his line to just make it a bit softer on the machinery for himself there.
Just seeing the close battles, checking that gap between Hamilton and Gasly, whether Hamilton can rouse himself to get closer. 1.6. Gasly trying to get past Nikita Mazepin at the moment. He has done so at the Nouvelle chicane. Sainz has got the gap down to 3.1 seconds on the racetrack.
Yeah, Sainz is doing exactly what he should do, which is not just going, okay, second's a good result for us. He's pushing on, he's applying pressure. You know, Max will be watching that gap and going, okay, I need to, you know, comfortably would like to keep it above a couple of seconds. But Sainz can afford to take the risk. He's got a bit of time to play with to Norris behind. He's a full 7 seconds behind.
And we know Carlos is handy here. He is no slouch. He's got great previous here, and you know, he bombed qualifying, or bombed it a few tenths. So it was a big penalty for him, but you know, he's going to be handy closing this Grand Prix out. He will keep Max on his toes. There's no question about it.
Until yesterday, he'd out-qualified every single teammate he'd had around this circuit, including the man he's now trying to close up on for victory back in the Toro Rosso days. Very nearly got that gap down inside 3 seconds. Verstappen will probably respond right now on this lap, having made their way past Daniel Ricciardo and Kimi Räikkönen. He's getting ever closer. It's never simple around these streets into Sandoval, climbing the hill one more time, and a personal best just to make sure that Sainz doesn't get any ideas. Gap staying at 3 seconds. Gasly managing to keep Hamilton at bay. Pierre Gasly, winner of the Italian Grand Prix last year, and looking to try. Early, at one point he was looking to try and give this the team from Faenza, used to be known as Toro Rosso, now known as AlphaTauri, their best result around these streets. That's still going to belong to the man who's denying him. 5th place for Sebastian Vettel is still that squad's best result, now known by a different name, of course, but it's still the same team. They're based in the same factory. And right now, Vettel is denying Gasly a best ever finish for the team on these famous 19 turns and 2 miles of the Monaco street circuit. There's a bit of a comparison there right now between the driver who is currently leading the championship, but might not be in about half an hour's time.
Other guy doing pretty well here, guys, is Stroll. He's trying to edge out another 3.5 seconds over Ocon, and then he's going to give himself a free pit stop, and not lose a position. So if he can do that, which he hasn't done yet, but the next, again, sort of 10 laps for him are going to be crucial to see if he can edge out that gap and give himself a free pit stop to stay in 8th place.
Yeah, if he's not able to do that, he's going to find himself also dropping out of the points behind Giovinazzi, because he'll fall in that gap between Giovinazzi and Raikkonen.
And we're checking in on Esteban Ocon and Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi saying yesterday that finally they got what they deserved. He was only worried about those on the mediums going longer. Having to start on the soft tyre, but he's put on the hard, and the hard tyre has been the favoured one out there today.
Yeah, only 2 cars not to stop are Stroll and Tsunoda. Tsunoda running a 14th behind Alonso, so fairly lacklustre weekend from the young Japanese driver. Sort of burst onto the scene in Formula 1, and it's sort of slowly dwindled from there, so he'll be looking for a confidence-boosting result at the next event.
That's exactly the word he used after qualifying as well. Said he's just trying to build his confidence back up, and that slump really began with a qualifying error in Imola, and after getting quite a lot of praise and hype and excitement, and he was so exciting in Formula 2 last year, the reality of the pressures and the scrutiny and all the headlines of Formula 1 hitting hard.
He's a young guy. He's, I'm sure, an internet baby. You can probably buy some confidence online somewhere.
This is a savage graphic for Daniel Ricciardo. 73 seconds, the gap between teammates.
I don't believe what I'm seeing, unless Daniel has an issue with the car. I know he lost a bunch of time at the early part of the race. When you extrapolate out from the start of the Grand Prix, the end of the lap 1, you find yourself sort of 17 seconds off the leader straight away. But that is a sobering moment for Daniel Ricciardo.
Fernando Alonso, another driver struggling to establish himself, returning to the Enstone-based team where he won 17 Grand Prix and 2 World Championships. Right now, Esteban Ocon is going to continue the form of being the lead Alpine across the line, the only point scorer as well. You can see the points as they would be dished out for the moment, and Yuki Tsunoda marginally ahead, trying to close down the 2-time world champion on the hard tyre. Alonso deciding, only driver out there to decide to go from the medium to the soft, trying something different. Sainz has loved Sector 1 all weekend long. He's just put in the fastest first third of the lap as he tries to just get close to the back of his former teammate. That's an acknowledgement from Lando Norris on his teammate letting him by, and he continues to run a lap ahead of him.
Yeah, all he can do is dangle his hand out the side of the cockpit. I'm not sure Daniel would see that. When I raced at McLaren with Mika Hakkinen, we did test with radio communication between the cars because they felt that might aid communication when it came to positioning of cars on the track. But both Mika and I totally abused it in testing with things like, I'm behind you, ooh, the likes. So it was like, okay, this isn't a good idea.
He couldn't be trusted with it. In a race configuration, that would have been, I don't know, a wild thing to do. Was that after Australia in '98? Were they looking for responses after that?
Indeed it was, and it was pre-team orders being officially allowed in Formula One, but as we know, it's always been a part of this particular sport.
Lance Stroll, you can see on the graphic, he's running 5 positions higher. He's running 5 positions higher because he's yet to stop right now on the hard tyre from the start. So Aston Martin having a good day by the standards of the team based at Silverstone. Caught out by the regulation change. Downforce being removed from the floor, and they've tried to recover that and having a great day so far with Vettel up in 5th. Let's hear from the second place man.
Yeah, let's try and put some pressure. Who knows?
Understood. Head down.
Lovely detail from Carlos Sainz, letting us know what's going on. He still hasn't really. He's dipped down, and then every single time he's dipped under 3 seconds, Max has responded on the next lap.
We take it for granted, don't we, as English speakers, that you know, they communicate in English. But can you imagine, he's driving a Grand Prix car, born and bred in Spain, and he's communicating with his Italian engineer in English and making perfect sense. I know speaking another language is not that remarkable. It's not like, you know, magic, if that's real, Father Christmas and Tooth Fairy, but still impressive.
Impressive with this modern generation of Formula One car when there is so much to alter on the steering wheel as well. How long would be just a small task of negotiating a racetrack where the barriers, as you can see, not too far away. Talking of not too far away, Sergio Perez has got the gap down to 5.6 seconds to Lando Norris. He's another driver trying to close in. Just looking last time around, he was just a little bit quicker, so he's not able to put the sort of pressure he would like. Will be, do you start counting off the laps, or do you tell yourself not to do that when you're in the lead in the Monaco Grand Prix?
Yeah, I used to count up to the stop, or the last stop, and then have my lap boards reversed to count down to the end of the Grand Prix. So that's how I used to play out. Mark, you may have a different system.
Just a countdown for me. From the top, 78, work backwards. I think, yeah, Alex, you're right. When you see go to 60 around here, you know, okay, I'm getting pretty close. We're on the home straight, and I think this mentally, Verstappen has had so much success in his career. We know that he's going to go on to have some tremendous success. But I'm a really big believer in that if you can lead this Grand Prix from start to finish, he's going to do extraordinary things. Like I said, DC and I've had success here, but he has This would be big for him mentally, really big for him to close this race out. It's a boring Grand Prix for Verstappen's head. That's what I'm getting at. He likes action. He likes to be able to, deal and hustle and bustle and get the elbows out. But this would be brilliant for Max Verstappen in terms of his career.
Yeah, I've been struggling, man. The car's awful on his tyres.
And other motivational quotes are available from Lando Norris.
Yeah, you're not going to print that out and put it on your wall, are you? He's in P3, but he's not happy.
Yeah, and he's got one of the fastest men on the track right now, and Perez behind him, so that could get quite juicy, closing the GP out there. But Stroll, back to him, he has done all the work. He's got a free pit stop. He can stay in 8th, he can pit at his pleasure and put a fresh set of softs on, and he should have a pretty easy run to the flag from there, which is a nice little gain for him after his qualifying position.
Do you know why much space Hamilton was giving to the barrier as he was coming through the chicane behind the pits?
I think Lewis is bored at this point, mate. He's probably checked out mentally and he's on a bit of autopilot here. Tough day for him, but as we know, Azerbaijan, 2 weeks away, so he'll be back. There's no doubt about that.
He's going to be demanding answers because Perez was able to get past. Let's hear from the driver who was able to jump Lewis Hamilton.
Let's build our fuel margin now. Norris is starting to struggle, so we want to make sure we've got the fuel to fight him at the end.
Bird on the radio saying to Perez, right, now's the time to show us that you can keep the tyres alive and hammer in to that 5.4 second advantage to Lando Norris, whose feedback was not encouraging. And you can see Perez beginning to turn the wick up 0.3 of a second faster last time around.
Lots of drivers starting to make mistakes, so this is full concentration mode.
Max Verstappen has never been on the podium here in Monaco. Sergio Perez has been there before with Force India. He stole one day, needed a errant pit stop for Carlos Sainz. Cost Carlos Sainz a trip to the podium that day in the wet-dry race back in 2016. Same thing happened to Sainz that year as happened to Daniel Ricciardo. And a slow pit stop cost him, of course, Sergio Perez, who loves pulling a podium out of the hat almost from nowhere. Well, he's going to try and do it again now. He's going to try and get there for a second time, and he's inside 4 seconds. Last time around, much quicker. 1:15.1 for Perez, 1:15.8 for Lando Norris. So that final place on the podium, not yet resolved. Top step, looking slightly settled right now, as long as Max Verstappen doesn't have any mechanical issues.
Are the top 3 all Monaco Virgin podiums there, Jakes?
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be the first time all 3 drivers are going to be new to the podium in Monaco since 1996.
That's impressive. Not very impressive, though, was the handling of the traffic there, releasing, well, I guess in fairness, Ocon, what am I talking about? Ocon is racing with Giovinazzi, so released the Ferrari and then go right in front of Giovinazzi to neutralise his attack.
So Ocon went to the medium tyres. Very few people have done that, and you can see it's just not working the same way that Antonio Giovinazzi is able to hustle his Alfa. And this is the closest battle on track right now. He's able to stay within that dirty air, and this is what we've been talking about. This is the pressure. It might only be for ninth, but remember, Antonio Giovinazzi does not have a points finish so far this year, so he's not going to risk too much, but he'll be desperate to capitalise, because when the days come along for Alfa Romeo, they really need to take advantage of it.
I think if he sniffs an opportunity, he'll send it, and the best place to do it is down into the braking at the chicane.
Stroll is under investigation for crossing the white line, and that would put him inside your pit window.
Perez has closed up. Norris is really going to have his mirrors full here. This is the gap between McLaren and Red Bull is absolutely evaporated.
No comments anymore, please.
Norris on the radio, you can understand the concern. And he is looking there, desperately trying to hang on to his maiden Monaco Grand Prix podium.
Yeah, extraordinary result for him, but this is one of the best tracks in the world if you've got to defend. We know that Monaco is tough. You know, catching, as Murray Walker once said, catching is one thing, passing is quite another, and this place is a torturous venue to try and pull a clean move off. So and this will be the location that Perez will be thinking about, an exit of the tunnel there on the brakes there. So the track's in great shape. It's wide enough. He should be able to throw something down the inside. Is the replay of Lando in that particular chicane, using the inside curve there. The car looks tidy, wings, pickup. It's as she pretty much left the line, so the car's in good shape for him.
Feels a bit better than running now. Little by little coming back.
Understood.
You can see that Perez now he's in the dirty air. It's getting that little bit harder, but Lando Norris lighting up the rear of his car. That fantastic livery, a one-off on that McLaren, but that McLaren is struggling for traction right now up against the Red Bull. And when you're the driver defending, Mark, when it's this late in the Grand Prix, when you look at your first trip to the rostrum here, that just heaps it all on the young Brit shoulders.
Absolutely. You know, this is, as a young driver coming through it, all these big results for Norris this year. I mean, he's been thrusted into a new scenario, nearly leading the team. He's got a new contract in his pocket. He's about to get a podium in Monaco. Yeah, the emotions will be running very high from him, and he's full of confidence. Why not? There's any time to put him in a hot situation like this. This is the time it should be, because he's got a lot of good currency in the bank in terms of his mood.
Here's Lewis Hamilton trying to salvage something from today, trying to minimize the damage and going for the fastest lap and the bonus points that come, bonus point I should say, that comes with it.
Yep, I mean every point for him. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this point system for an extra fastest lap, whatever, it's fine, but for Hamilton, he needs every single point. He's in a huge battle with Max Verstappen, as we know, and also the Merckx mechanics leaving the track, having done another pit stop. They wouldn't want to leave with the stop they've done with Valtteri, so give them a bit more pit stop practice, to say the least. I say sarcastically.
Yuki Tsunoda has the new lap record with a 1:14.0, so he came in to put on the tyres, but it dropped him behind the Williams pair. Hamilton had that gap to Stroll, and he will now try and take the fastest lap and the new lap record away from Yuki Tsunoda. 2 miles and a magnificent 74 seconds on the board. We'll see whether Hamilton can beat that time. Obviously, we'd expect him to do so and take the point that comes with it, finishing in the top 10 and setting fastest lap.
Yeah, Norris has certainly seen off this charge from Perez pretty handily up to this point, so he's about to click off lap 70 soon. Max Verstappen is anyway. Team radio from Lewis.
We're going to have Verstappen as the car behind. We don't need to do the fastest lap immediately.
So you're going to have to do it immediately.
You don't have to do it immediately. Do not have to do it immediately.
Well, you can tell all you need to know from the tone of Lewis Hamilton's voice. usually calm behind the wheel, but the world champion is raging at what he's experienced today. Asked to be extended, asked to be left out on the racetrack and try and make the difference, trying to overcut people. In the end, came in early. Gasly responded, and Vettel jumped the pair of them.
Yeah, no, it's you know, he's purple in sector 1, Hamilton. So let's see if he can get this fastest lap and grab an extra point, because I'm right, mate, you have to be in the top 10 anyway, do you or not? Can you get a fast lap to Tsunoda? Obviously it's not counting, obviously, so Lewis is in a great position here to you'd imagine toe-to-toe anyway. He's going to drill Tsunoda's time.
I'll take the bonus point, try and salvage something from the day, which has been, as it stands, by comparison, to tell you how unlikely this result is. Hamilton only finished once last year outside the top 10. And that was at Monza when he got the penalty for pitting when the pit lane was closed. He's well on his way to the fastest lap of the race. Fastest in the first sector, fastest in the middle part of the lap. And Lewis Hamilton comes over the line, and that is worthy of a new lap record. 1:12.9 over the line. Fantastic speed.
Very, very good. But I tell you what, all too late. The weekend's over. You know, the big results are down the front, so yeah, it'll be a nice point to get, but he'll be going away from here still, of course, very, very frustrated. And I think Max Verstappen has, you know, 8.8 seconds now. Sainz has settled for second. The top two of, well, the top three. We know that Perez is putting a bit of heat on Lando for third place there, but the top two have settled. 7 laps to go. And Lewis, I think he's going to have another. No, he's not. He's backed off a little bit. So taking his frustration out. I think Bono said, you don't have to do it straight away. Well, I'll tell you what, son, I am going to do it straight away.
Yeah, doing it his way after a frustrating weekend. Not being listened to on Saturday, but this is a mighty team. This is a team that learns quickly. Their progress this year shows you that. And it's not going to be enough to stop Max Verstappen taking the lead of the Drivers' Championship after a bit of a body blow where Mercedes really outthought Red Bull. At least that's how everyone viewed it from outside the pit lane, and they are striking back here. This will mean an awful lot to Max Verstappen and Red Bull if he can coax it just a few miles further.
Yeah, and I see this as another big push from Perez. This is another big phase. Maximum heat now for the remaining 6 laps of this GP. On Lando Norris in front of him. He had a little bit of a respite, dropped back a bit, you know, probably gave the battery a bit of a recharge, more of a, you know, a recharge and a top up, and then go again. We know these tyres get very hot in disturbed air, so he's going to make Lando Norris really, really earn the bubbles that he's going to get on the podium here for the first time. I know he's the right age now. He can drink, can't he? So it'll taste pretty good here tonight.
This has been hard work for Lando, who is running out of tyres, but he is running ahead. And track position around here, absolutely everything. You saw how quickly Perez was able to scythe into that advantage and then gets to the invisible wall of the dirty air, and he's just floated around a second ever since. And as a driver here, you're thinking, in this situation, where's he weak? Or are you just trying to bully him into an error at this point?
Just to get as close as you can, just to try and put the pressure on and be in the mirrors and trying to distract him on the brakes. Most of the errors in Monaco happen on the brakes. You get in a little bit hot, you can, you know, pinch the front tyre or lose the rear a little bit. It's pretty rare a mistake will happen on the way out of a corner. So that's what Perez is doing right now, trying to give him a good working over in the braking areas to see if Lando will drop the ball. But I don't think at this point I'm seeing no indication whatsoever. Lando is driven beautifully. He is at one with this car. He loves this new McLaren, and he's in a great position to get probably, you could argue, one of the biggest results of his career, if not the biggest. I know he's had podiums, but this is Monaco, right?
Let's check in with Yuki Tsunoda at the Rascas, sailing on by, but I assume he made the corner. Let's wait. Just about deep there, pushing on the soft tyres as he tries to catch up to the back of Nicholas Latifi, who is completing his first Monaco Grand Prix as well. 3 laps to go. Max Verstappen will be ticking them off. Sergio Perez, all of that effort now. He's dropped back to 2 seconds. Lando Norris has repelled him. McLaren will be delighted with this one. If they can get their driver on the rostrum the first time around these streets. And what a way to celebrate your new contract. What a way to back up the team's faith in him. Perez's charge appears to have faltered unless he's going to give it one last heave at the end.
And the Golf livery, the new retro Golf livery, this would be a good luck charm. Will they stay on for future races? But it's great for the sport to see great new partners coming in under tricky times. But, brilliant success for McLaren. They've had good investment. They've got a good, clear future on what they're planning to do to take this team back towards the front. And this is something that'll, champagne in the veins is always nice.
It's going to be the first dry podium for Ferrari since way back at Silverstone last year. A first podium in general since Turkey at the back end of last year. Ferrari really suffering, and Sainz with a strong weekend all the way through, always running at the top of the timing page. And it's Lando Norris who's done enough now. We're about to head on very soon to the final lap of the race. Penultimate tour right now for Max Verstappen, who is building up to one of the biggest moments of his career so far. Symbolic stuff this, as onto the penultimate lap we go with Lando Norris. Black and white flag for Yuki Tsunoda for using track limits.
The last lap here, soak it up, Max. When you can trip that line in half a lap from now, it's a special feeling to be a Monaco Grand Prix winner. So and you could say not long overdue, but he's had a bit of a love-hate relationship with this venue, hasn't he? In terms of he's hit plenty of fences here, but this is going to be a big moment for him to finally have a victory at a place where it had the measure of him for sure.
He's had 4 major crashes here. He looked as quick as Daniel Ricciardo in 2016 and 2018, but he had crashes on Saturday that denied him the opportunity he has now. 2 miles to go on the final lap of the race for Max Verstappen, who did the hard work in the opening meters. He knew the big threat from the dirty side of the grid was seeing off Valtteri Bottas. He did so. Bottas then retired, and Max Verstappen has never looked like losing the Monaco Grand Prix since then. He will be drinking in every moment of this.
Oh, this is unique, mate. Down the hill here in the Mirabeau. I guarantee you'll have a little smile in there somewhere. He knows in his heart of hearts, it's well, commentator's curse, but it's pretty much done now, with the mechanical gremlins that can hit late in the Grand Prix, but he will not let this slip from his grasp right now. And look, we've also had a few fans here, not many fans, but it's not Monaco at its peak in terms of energy and emotion, but it still is Monaco, and there is people here. We saw a beautiful driver parade lap with people out of their hotels or the balconies, so the energy and the vibes coming back to the sport in the abundance, and brilliant result for Max Verstappen in this World Championship battle with Lewis.
You heard earlier on that he was so frustrated to miss out on pole, but the points are given out today. They are cheering him home at the Raskas. The Dutch driver lights it up as he comes out of the final corner, and Max Verstappen wins on the streets of Monaco. His maiden victory in the Principality, and for the first time, Max Verstappen takes the lead of the World Championship. Carlos Sainz takes a first podium for Ferrari, and this has been hard work for Lando Norris. Just a 3rd trip to the podium in his Formula One career, and it's a first time in Monaco as well, as Serena Williams welcomes the top 3 across the line. Perez rescued enough points for Red Bull to take them top of the Constructors' Championship as well, as the pendulum swings in the championship and the fans celebrate. It's Red Bull and Verstappen's day in Monaco.
Max, that is a fabulous drive, mate, and you're a Monaco Grand Prix winner. Fantastic.
Yes. Oh, nice race. Oh, well done. I think we managed that really well, guys. Super happy.
Max Verstappen, you're a Monaco Grand Prix winner. That was brilliant. That was your afternoon. Big Adrian's coming up to get the trophy with you. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. I think perfect tire life as well. So, yeah, super happy with this win.
That was masterclass, and you're leading the World Championship. Well done, mate.
After Spain, there were whispers. Can Red Bull strike back? Will Mercedes get a stranglehold on the championship again? You are looking at the answer. Lighting it up again like he did out of the final few corners. Max Verstappen now can count himself as a Monaco Grand Prix winner, the 64th different driver to lead the World Championship, and he climbs out of the car as the new man to beat in Formula One.
Yeah, I think this is the proudest we'll see him in his Formula One career. I'm fascinated to see when the helmet comes off. The emotion here is different. He's leading the championship now. Look, he's going to ride the horse. He's going to ride the bull. Ride that Red Bull, baby. Yep. And off to the team. What bubbles? We'll just crack on. The old security guard's getting nailed. This place brings out different emotion.
Carlos Sainz delivers for Ferrari. How much of last year did he have to listen to, are you sure this is the right move? Are you sure this is the right move? He has delivered early on. Just his 5th race, he's taking them to their first podium finish of the season, and their first since Turkey last year. As Charles Leclerc says, well done to his teammate as well.
No.
David has made his way downstairs to hear from the top 3, starting with Lando Norris.
Lando, I saw you with the team. I can see the joy and happiness in your eyes. Brilliant first podium here in Monaco.
Cheers.
Tell us about it.
I don't know what to say. I didn't think I'd be here today, so yeah. It's down to these guys, you know.
There you go, Zach Brown.
Yeah, it's always a dream to be on the podium here, so it's extra special. I didn't think it was going to happen, but bit of luck. I want to say some good driving, you know, and a good car all weekend. We've had a strong weekend, so thanks to the boys and girls, but this one's for them.
You have had a brilliant start to this season. You are really charging in this championship, but the podium here in Monaco is something a little bit extra special.
It is, especially, come on.
There you go, Carlos. That's great to see the brotherhood there. Now, either Carlos wants to hurry your interview up, or you guys are just good buddies.
He can wait for 1 minute.
No.
It's my glory.
For once, I'm happy to share a podium.
But yeah, congrats to this guy as well, and to Max. But yeah, it's special here, so I'll cherish it. Beautiful trophy box, which I'm very much looking forward to get as well. So cheers.
Keep up the great work. Well done, Lando Norris. Right, where's Carlos Sainz? Carlos, you were quick all weekend. You were a little bit frustrated that you didn't get the final lap in quali, but this is still a great result for you today.
Yeah, it is a good result. I mean, you would have told me before coming to Monaco that I would finish second. I would have definitely taken. It's just the whole circumstances of the weekend, having Charles on pole, me missing out in quali yesterday on a good lap. It's just maybe doesn't taste as good as it should, but I'm sure that when I reflect back in the weekend, I will be very happy and proud of the weekend. And I think Ferrari, as a team, they need to be proud about the car and the step they've done this year.
Well, I think they can be very proud of you, how humble you are, because mixed emotions. Charles, of course, with the disappointment ahead of the race. Was that in your mind at all during the Grand Prix?
It is. I mean, when you see the other car not starting for pole, all of a sudden the responsibility obviously relies on you trying to salvage a bit the weekend. You know, one car is out starting from pole, and you want to give the team at least a podium. And it was all about getting the start right. Then around the pit stops there was a lot of traffic. We were lapping the cars very quickly, and obviously Valtteri had the pit stop. But even without that, I was feeling really good with the car today, and I felt like the team at least deserved a podium this weekend.
Man, how fit are you? You're not even sweating. Look at that. Your hair's dry.
No, man, it's easy. When you train, you know, maybe you don't do that so much, but we are fit.
Well, congratulations. You've got plenty of energy for the party tonight. And finally, but of course, most importantly, we have a race winner. Max, your first victory in Monaco. The first of what I'm sure will not be the last. God, you said before the race it's only 25 points for a win, but it's so much more here in Monaco.
It's of course, you know, it's so special around here to win, and also for me the first time on the podium here. So yeah, an amazing race. It's a lot of laps around here, and it's, you know, you really have to keep your focus. But yeah, it's really cool.
Now, you know that it's traditional here. You have Monseigneur, His Serene Highness Prince Albert up there on the podium. You're supposed to curtsy or bow or something. Otherwise, he won't give you the trophy. You're getting the wave from Prince Albert, so you'll be joining him soon. Well done. Right, at any point during this race, were you concerned, or once you got off the start and managed to close down Valtteri, it was plain sailing, or how difficult was the race?
I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but it was all about just looking after your tires and find a good stop gap. Of course, the others went earlier, so that made it a bit easier for me. But yeah, it was pretty much in control.
Max, if you just stay there for one moment, I'd love to bring in a great champion of tennis, Serena Williams. Please come and join us. Now, you are, I don't know if you've met Max before. Now, you are a big car fan, as well as being a great sporting champion. So not the first time I think you've been to Monaco, but how did you feel about this Grand Prix?
It's such an amazing Grand Prix, and it's such a fantastic honor to be here as a fan and see such incredible athletes.
Now, of course, you are the epitome of athleticism. This is ahead of your tennis championship in France coming up. So is this the perfect way to prepare for a big tennis tournament?
It is. We're all training really, really hard, and it's always good to see amazing athletes, and congratulations. So it's always good to see and just be inspired, really.
Any advice you would give to Max on how he can improve on that performance? You know, backhand, forehand?
I don't think I'm in the position to give advice right now in this arena. But, you know, just good job to all the racers. I think everyone did really well.
Lovely. Thank you so much for those words. Max, final word. Monaco Grand Prix winner. We saw you with the entire team. We saw you with your partner, Kelly. The emotions must be running high. It's only your mother and father and your sister left to look in the eye and know that you are a winner.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you always want to win this Grand Prix. I remember when I was, of course, very little already, watching this Grand Prix. So when you're standing here, of course, I'm very proud. But I'm also thinking ahead. It's still a very long season, and of course, this is again a great way to continue.
Enjoy the championship lead and enjoy the champagne. Well done.
I've never been in it, really.
Game show time now. Lando mentioned the box. What's in the box? It's the trophy they all want above all others. Just a third career podium for Lando Norris. A third career podium for his good friend Carlos Sainz, as those two match each other in career totals. And Max Verstappen has been on the top step before, but this will be the 12th time and the first at Monaco as he and Red Bull take the lead of both championships. So it's a different order here. It's Monaco. Everything's completely different. And Prince Albert checks in with Lando Norris before presenting Max Verstappen with the trophy. And Red Bull's hard effort to push all the way through last year to close the gap, and now with one of the best cars in Formula One, they've been able to take the prize in the Principality. Next up, Carlos Sainz. After fielding all those questions about whether he'd made the right move, it's taken him 5 races to get onto the podium. That Scarlet car perfectly suiting the low-speed nature of the circuit. It's the high-speed corners and the long straights where that car still struggles. Talking of struggling, how many laps did Lando Norris have? Sergio Perez, it is mirrors. It's a huge cheer from his team below. If you're going to paint the car in a beautiful livery like that, you've got to deliver. And Lando Norris magics a podium for McLaren. They weren't expecting this at the start of the weekend. Adrian Newey, you know it's a big deal when they send Adrian Newey to the rostrum. Verstappen has worked super hard. He's beaten Adrian Newey to the champagne. He's beaten everyone around the streets of Monte Carlo after he won the start. It never looked in doubt as good friends Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris begin squabbling on the podium. And Lando's now traditional smash the bottle on the floor technique of spraying the bubbly into the face of his old teammate. It's a delighted top three. It's a spectacle in sport like no other. And it's been a great day for Max Verstappen and Red Bull.